way. I might say, nobody doing it better. Y'all some lightweights. Malik Wright, up all day and all night, pushing all the buttons up to something till it's alright. He looking at it from all sides and angles. Got a stripes on his body like he played for the Bengals. Oh man, there's no one discussing it. They came, they stayed, they either did it or done it. Man, I love it, cause all they ever do is win. So kick back, relax, the TWSN.
Thank you guys for joining me for the first edition of the Sit Down with Malik Wright morning show. I'm your host, Malik Wright. Listen, I'm really excited to start this journey. I'm really excited to be talking all things sports with you guys. I know it's been a thing where people have been asking for me to do some daily content, some daily live content. And, I have a lot of opinions. I'm a guy with a lot of opinions on the very robust world of sports. And I'm looking forward to really sharing all those opinions with you guys and talking these things through. I guess I picked a hell of a day to start, right? Today's my birthday. And it'll kind of be one of those easy anniversary things to sort of remember. But I'm really excited to kind of touch on everything from the NFL. A lot of you are used to me giving my Bengals content, my UFC content, but this isn't that. I still will be talking about the Bengals. I still will be talking about everything happening in the world of sports, but I'm really excited to be on this journey with all of you. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing I kind of want to start off and talk about, if we can, let's talk about Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers, right? I want to talk about Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers and how they shit the bed. Let's just call it what it is. They shit the bed to open up the season. You have a lot of people out there who have, I would say, hot takes about Dabo Swinney. A lot of people may feel that the college game has sort of passed him by. Obviously, we know Dabo Swinney was against the NIL and sort of like the new recruitment strategy of a lot of these athletes. But it brings an interesting point up for me. And I think that thing for me is, that old quote where it says, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And Dabo Swinney by no means is necessarily a villain, but this is a guy that has won national championships. He's one of the more successful college football coaches. But you got to wonder, has the game passed him by a little bit because of his neglect to sort of adapt to the new recruitment strategy? You look at a guy like Nick Saban, who left Alabama. And a lot of people didn't see it coming. Me being one of those people, being a huge Alabama Crimson Tide fan, I didn't see that coming. I couldn't have saw it coming. I don't think many people saw it coming. But I think that when you have this changing of the guard where athletes are now paid, right? And make no mistake about it, we know athletes have been getting paid, right, through the years. We know that already. But this is the first time where it's actually known and it's reported and it's talked about. It's very difficult for a lot of these bigger universities sometimes to, I guess, compete with other bigger universities and other universities, especially when you have so much money being thrown your way, because it really has become almost like they're professional athletes at this point, right? It really has become that. So I think for me, I wouldn't say that Dabo Swinney has just lost his ability to coach. I do think some adapting is necessary if he is going to stay at the top of the heap. I don't know if he's willing to make those necessary adjustments, but I find it very interesting. I find that the dialogue with Dabo Swinney after obviously overreaction, after that stomping that they faced. But I also want to caution people: look who they face. Look who they face. All right, they faced a Georgia team that has been at the top of the college football world for the last couple of years, that have won national championships, that don't have an issue with recruitment, if you will. This is Georgia is a powerhouse, and I think that Georgia would give anybody fits. I think I saw a funny stat out there that said the last couple times that Clemson had faced Georgia, they've barely scored much of anything, right? And I think that just is a testament to the product that they have out there, the players that they have out there. So I don't really buy into the notion that Dabo Swinney has suddenly just forgotten how to coach. I don't buy into the notion that Dabo Swinney is no longer a good coach. But if he isn't willing to adapt, the college football world will pass him by. Will he adapt? That is going to be very interesting. Listen, I want to get to some of these comments regarding this set topic. That's the one thing about this show. We're going to include you guys in the discussion, talk with you guys about things. So let's start with my guy, Evan Hartman over at TWSN. He said it's past. Been saying that since last season. Dabo is washed. Justin Fields broke him. Wow. Okay. Tell me you're an Ohio State fan without telling me you're an Ohio State fan. My guy Tyrone Thomas says Dabo has to adjust to what the game has become or become irrelevant. J.R. Bloom says he's either got to change or go the Saban route. Nothing wrong with the old school till the boosters start. You know what? So I think that the overall, I guess, sentiment with Dabo Swinney is either adjust your game or head on out. I don't necessarily think again that he's now a bad coach. I still think if he's willing to adapt. Now, this season might be a little tough, obviously, because you kind of gotta reap what you sow and then the bet. But maybe some adjustments will be made throughout the recruitment process to get some kids in here that'll truly help change the Clemson football program. But I want to keep the conversation rolling, keeping it in the college football world. There has been a lot of chatter this week. There's been a lot of chatter this week with a lot of folks talking about a guy by the name of Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders, and the conversation regarding Shedeur has been: is he the best quarterback in the nation? Is he the best college quarterback in football? Uh, for me, he certainly looked the part. He looked really, really good. But I do want to caution people without discrediting North Dakota State University. Look who he played against as well. You're expected to do this. Now, the one thing that was a concern for me when watching that game was the same concern that I had last year. It was, okay, are they going to be able to win in the trenches? For a good portion of the game, it looked like they were getting bullied a little bit. Now, NDSU, they're really known for being big in the trenches. They've had some great, not won't say great, some very good draft picks come out recently. They've had a lot of success. They aren't a pushover by any stretch of the imagination, but for a team like Colorado that was preached, that was talked about, as one of the quote unquote upper echelon teams this year, and Shedeur expected to have a breakout year and really cement himself as a top 10, top 5 pick. Um, I guess not from the Shedeur side of things. I think from the Colorado side of things, I was hoping to see just a little bit more dominance. But again, it's football, right? These guys are going to suit up. You never know what your opponent's going to have for you necessarily. I just think that when we have the chatter about is he the best quarterback in college football, I think it's one of those things where we have to like just hold our horse a little bit. It's going to be a long season. Um, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for Shedeur to really really make a case for himself, really make a name for himself. But it's got to be a thing of consistency. He started off very strong last year for Colorado, and then things kind of obviously didn't fall in their favor. They got beat up a little bit in the trenches. He was taking a lot of punishment back there at the quarterback position. But I definitely think that some of the strides, some of the issues that I had last year, holding the ball super long and not really having the greatest sense of pocket awareness. I think I really think that Shedeur Sanders could really be a guy in the NFL. The question remains is obviously throughout this entire process is if he's going to be worthy of being a franchise quarterback in the National Football League. I think that's the discussion. That's something that's going to keep evolving over time. And I'll have my thoughts on Shedeur once we get a couple of once we get a couple more games under his belt, a couple more reps under his belt. But I can't mention Shedeur without mentioning Travis Hunter. And, I was talking to a buddy of mine recently about this, and he asked me, you know, do I think Travis Hunter's current game as it stands is translatable to the NFL? Listen, I think that he makes it a little bit difficult for himself when you don't truly say, hey, you know what? I'm going to play this position. Teams don't know what you're going to necessarily perfect. I think he played every single snap, offense and defense, except for two in that game. To me, I don't think that that's sustainable. Like, if I'm a scout, I'm not looking at that guy saying, yes, I want to draft him with a top 5 pick or top 10 pick. Not because he's not talented. It's because you have to wonder how much tread does that guy have on the tires? And I think that's a real conversation to have. I think that's an honest conversation to have about a guy in Travis Hunter. I worry about his durability. I love to see Travis Hunter excel at the next level. But I do wonder, will he go down in the books as a great college football player versus a great professional player? I don't want him to be one of these players that break down when you get to the professional leagues because you have so much tread on your tires. So as much as I know Dion, and listen, I am by no means a football coach. I am a guy with a hot mic that just gives his opinion. But I think when you look at it and you say to yourself, okay, this is going to be a guy that we're going to spend a first round pick on. This is a guy that we believe in. Number one, do you know what his true position is? What he excels at? Do you know what you're getting? Obviously, you get a guy that could play offense and defense. And I know says he sees a lot of himself in him, but I think we got to deal in reality a little bit here. All right. I think we got to deal in reality here. And I think that as a coach, I think that's your job to tell that kid, hey, listen, as much as you want to play offense, as much as you want to play defense, listen, we need to make sure that you can play for the long haul here. We can make sure that your body can withhold it. And I just don't think that playing cornerback and then wide receiver, it's a great showcase for the university. 100% it is. But I also think that with Travis Hunter playing those snaps of offense and defense, you're also taking opportunities away from other kids potentially, right, to showcase themselves. Not saying that he wouldn't beat those guys out regardless, but I think that the more opportunity you can give a lot of these other kids, because sometimes it does feel like at Colorado, it's the Shedeur Sanders and the Travis Hunter show. And I think that when a lot of these kids make the decision to go on to the next level and play college football, and they choose say, hey, I want to play at Colorado, I think they're looking at it like, okay, am I going to get the opportunities to showcase what I can do, right? And again, that isn't a Travis Hunter or even a Shedeur Sanders thing. That is a Deion Sanders as a head coach type thing. I think it's one of those things where, again, you have to be able to tell Travis Hunter what his limits are and then move forward with that. Appreciate you guys again spending your mornings with us here on the Sit Down with Malik Wright morning show. Again, if you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. Remember, this show will be going live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. On tomorrow's show, I'll be joined by a good buddy of mine, Benjamin Albright, in NFL Insider, and he covers the Denver Broncos. Really, really excited about it. Really excited about starting this journey. Believe it or not, I was a little nervous too. I was a little nervous about this. I don't usually get too nervous about doing too many shows. I've done a gazillion and one shows, but I think it was one of those things where I've always wanted to do a show like this. I've always wanted to bring something interesting to the people. So this was really, really cool for me to kind of get into. But want to keep the conversation rolling. I want to talk about my NFL 2024 storylines that I'm going to be following, right? Some of the biggest storylines that I feel like are kind of going under the radar a little bit. I want to just touch upon those a little bit. And I think the first thing I want to touch on is Sean McVay and the Rams. For me, when I pay attention to the Rams situation as it is, listen, what Sean McVay has been able to do since entering as a head coach in the National Football League has been amazing. The guy is an offensive genius. He's fostered winning programs, winning culture through and through. As a young coach, won a Super Bowl, whole 9 yards. He wasn't afraid to start over when they realized they made a mistake at the quarterback position. I do wonder, though, right? I do wonder if Sean McVay is going to be committed to the Rams long term. What I can tell you, right, and I think it's probably, it's probably old news at this point. It's probably known out there, but Sean McVay genuinely was about to leave the Los Angeles Rams to become a broadcast booth guy for Amazon, and obviously that fell through because Amazon mismanaged some things from what I heard. And they wind up having to pay one of their guys that they currently have more money to keep them because that guy was under the impression that he was going to be on the outs. Once Sean McVay realized that wasn't necessarily a viable option for him, he decided to return to the Rams. That's the real story. So much so as I recorded a video that maybe one day in the distant future, I'll release the actual video that I did announcing him leaving for Amazon because I was very well locked in on that story. That was very real. So all the talk of, oh, I was never going to leave the Rams, that's not quite true. But the fact of the matter is, Sean McVay, I look at this situation with the Rams and I say, it just feels like they're in for a rebuild, right? It just feels like they're in for a rebuild. Like for me, the guy during the preseason game decided, hey, you know what? I'm not going to coach my team. I'm going to go up in the broadcast booth. Listen, hello, if you're a Rams fan, that puts alerts on a little bit like that. And I get it. I get it. It's the name of the game, right? These guys get to the pinnacle of their profession, and then they look to move forward. They look for different steps. It almost is reminiscent, not quite reminiscent, but in some aspects of a Gruden thing. I don't think you could ever take the true coach out of out of a coach. I think that guy's always going to want to coach. I think it's one of those things where Sean McVay might just be burnt out from coaching, and he might want to try his hand at something different, right? In a perfect world, you thought that maybe we'd see Sean McVay go out with Aaron Donald and go on, and then somebody else will take over the Rams, the whole 9 yards. But that's one of the storylines that I'm following this season. Is Sean McVay made long for the long haul with the Rams? And if you're asking me that question on September 2nd, I don't believe he is. I don't believe he is. I don't believe that he is going to be here. I don't believe I don't believe he's going to be here that long, and I don't think that's necessarily a hot take. But I'm very curious to hear what you guys think of the Sean McVay discourse. Do you think that he is here for the long term? Do you think that he is going to find himself leaving the Rams after this season? I want to get to some of these comments in the comment section. I want to also remind you guys, if you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel while you are here. Again, this is one of your interactive morning shows where we discuss everything NFL, everything sports related, NBA, UFC, the whole 9 yards. Notice I didn't say MLB. We'll try to talk some MLB. I'm not gonna lie to you and act like I'm an MLB fan, right? You tell me about baseball, I say who? Ellie De La Cruz, right? Being here in Cincinnati. No, I'm kidding. But we'll be talking everything through. All the major headlines, everything that there is needed to discuss, we'll be talking about that through. I want to get to some of these comments. Our guy, Gary Jellison, friend of the channel, he says, I think the loss of Aaron Donald destroyed that team. I'd agree. I think when you lose the emotional heartbeat of your team, it's certainly going to do something to you. But I will say this, though. I'm not that high on Braden Fisk, personally, the guy that they drafted, who I'm guessing is supposed to replace Aaron Donald from a positional standpoint. I am a fan of the guy that they did draft out of Florida State, and that's Jared Verse. I'm a huge fan of Jared Verse. I think Jared Verse is going to be a very, very good player. And I think that if you're looking to get that guy that could be a defensive nightmare for offensive coordinators, I think that is Jared Verse. I think if you're looking to get that guy that could be the emotional heartbeat of your defense, I won't say of your team just yet, but of your defense, I think that could be Jared Verse. But I think right now, if we were talking about the Rams, they're going to be leaning a lot on their offense. That's their identity. They're going to be relying a lot on their schematics and a lot of scoring big points. I don't think that their defense is anything to write home about this season. But again, I do believe that the moves that they made in the offseason to help, you never can replace Aaron Donald, but you could try to, mask some of the issues that you might have. I think they did a good job of that. I want to keep going with some of that conversation. Our guy Natty Ron says, I met Sean McVay at the airport out here in Arizona. I actually had a 1-minute conversation. Can't believe it. That's awesome, man. That's awesome that you met him too. And Sean always has seemed like a great stand-up guy. But I think it's one of those things where I don't know if he's long for the coaching world as it stands. And I think that the Rams probably know that a little more than what they're letting on too. I think they know that too. Keeping the conversation rolling, let's talk about our guy here in Cincinnati. Let's talk about Joey B. Let's talk about Joe Burrow. Let me just say this right now, and this will probably be a clipable moment. Listen, I think that if I really believe in my heart if Joe Burrow stays healthy, the Bengals are all systems go this year. I think Joe Burrow could be in for an MVP-esque like type season. Can he stay healthy? Right? That's the golden question. Can he stay healthy? And unfortunately, when people go out there and they say, oh, Joe Burrow is injury prone, I really struggle with that a little bit. I think having your left guard smash into your leg and you tearing your ACL isn't you being injury prone. I think you having a freak injury of snapping ligaments in your wrist, right? Tearing ligaments in your wrist is not you being injury prone. I don't believe that. In my core, I don't believe that's you being injury prone. I think those are freak accidents that happen. We don't see Joe Burrow, out there missing practice because of a sore hamstring or having to leave the game or XYZ. But regardless, right? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And what I mean by that is no one cares about the intricacies. No one cares about that. They care about the bottom line number. How many games has Joe Burrow played, and how much is he getting paid to play said games? Listen, it has become a $275 million question. Can Joe Burrow stay healthy? Well, we got news for you. Listen, we know what the Bengals are when Joe Burrow is healthy. They're a Super Bowl contender. Let's not say BS. Let's not say something that's inaccurate, something that doesn't make sense. With Joe Burrow on the football field, the Bengals are Super Bowl contenders through and through. They can beat any team in the National Football League. I don't think, again, that's a hot take. I think that's a real take. They're the only team that has proved, hey, we can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And people say, oh, well, that was how long ago? Well, it's what we have to go off of from a healthy perspective. I think Joe Burrow has shown you what he is capable of. I think the Bengals football team has shown you what they're capable of. And, let's talk about when Joe Burrow has been healthy. What have the Bengals done? Coming off an ACL tear, went to the Super Bowl, lost to the Rams. Good win for the Rams, sure. The next time he was healthy, they went to the AFC Championship. Chiefs beat him by a field goal with a makeshift offensive line. The part of what I'm trying to say is when Joe Burrow's out there, the Bengals have fallen short of only the Super Bowl once, right? When he's healthy out there. They've been to the AFC Championship. They've been to the Super Bowl. They've proven that they could do it. Anybody that's going to say, hey, you know what? This team is not a Super Bowl contender. I've got a bridge to sell you in Mexico. I don't have a bridge to sell you in Mexico. But what I do have for you is truth. See, on this show, what you're going to get is you're going to get unbiased takes. You're going to get real conversation. You're going to get, the honest opinion from. This show is based right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. But if the Bengals suck, I'll tell you the Bengals suck. They're awful. I'll tell you that they're awful. But what I will tell you though is that a lot of the narrative shaped around Joe Burrow and the Bengals is agenda pushing. It's agenda pushing. Listen, I'm not going to be blind to the fact that they have struggled in their division. If you ever tune into our show, State of the Jungle, Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I echo the same sentiment. You have to cut your grass at home before you cut your neighbor's grass. And what that means is you have to take care of business in your division before you think you can go out and conquer the AFC. That is an afterthought. It really is. You have to be able to win against a team in your division. And there's a team in their division that they haven't had a lot of success against. I'll tell you who that team is. For some weird reason, the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns have been a team that have been a thorn in the Bengals side. Now, have the Cleveland Browns been a thorn in the rest of the NFL side? No. But the Cleveland Browns have been a thorn in the Bengals side. Bengals got to get that figured out this year. The Baltimore Ravens have been a team that the Bengals have struggled against, to be honest with you. It's something that needs to improve if the Bengals want to reach some of those loftier goals. When they did reach that loftier goal after Joe Burrow came back from his ACL injury, well, they found themselves in the big dance. That has to be the case this year. Listen, if the Bengals want to realize a Super Bowl, or if the Bengals want to realize going deep in the playoffs, it all relies on if Joe Burrow can stay healthy. And if Joe Burrow can stay healthy, I think this team is cooking. And again, I realize that's probably not a hot take. I realize that's not a hot take. But at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is the AFC North is a tough division. The Bengals got to figure out how to beat the teams in their division. And then we'll see where they end up. Very curious to hear what you guys' thoughts are in the comment section. We got a lot of people saying, stand up, I'm with you. Somebody said, don't. Please don't. Another person said, they act like Buffalo, Baltimore, and San Francisco can do it. I mean, to be honest with you, those are teams that have been there. Those are teams that have been there. Not necessarily to the Super Bowl, but those are teams that have beaten the Bengals. Those are teams that have definitely proven that some consistency there in terms of, when Lamar Jackson is healthy, we know the Ravens are true playoff bound. We know that they are a tough out team. We know that they are a playoff team. We know that they're going to put up very gaudy numbers in the regular season. The Niners have been to a couple of Super Bowls, haven't necessarily won the big dance, but they've proven that they could be consistent there. They've proven that they could really be a thorn in a lot of these team sides. So I'm with you on the one team in that statement. You said they act like Buffalo can. Baltimore and San Fran can do. I believe Baltimore and San Fran will always be who they are. I think that Buffalo is actually I think Buffalo is going to be in for a really really weird season, which is going to actually segue me to my next topic here. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. If you guys could do us a huge favor again, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. But let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. I believe something in my core. I believe that another storyline that I didn't really touch on, which kind of all pertains into the Buffalo Bills, is I think Sean McDermott is probably going to be with his last season in Buffalo. I think that he's worn out his welcome. I think that that is running a little bit thin, if you will. Um, let me make this clear. Sean McDermott has been a fantastic coach for the Buffalo Bills. They have experienced so many winning seasons under him. He has sort of reshaped Bills culture. They have a football team they could be proud of and a team that they can look forward to. But let me deal in the world of reality. I think that their general manager probably would hate me even I guess even suggesting this, but I think the Bills are in for a rebuild. I think the Bills are in for a rebuild. I think that they are going through a phase right now where they don't know what they are. They lost a lot of veterans on the defensive side of things. Lost a lot of veterans. And then their star wide receiver, albeit maybe there was a little drama down there in Buffalo or up there in Buffalo, with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. But make no mistake about what those two were able to do together through the years. And Stephon Diggs was a big part of the Buffalo Bills being looked at as serious contenders. Now, when I look at their roster now, I think that it leaves a lot to be uh, a lot to be hopeful for, if you will. Not a lot to be hopeful for, I will say. Um, I think that Josh Allen definitely regressed some points last 2 seasons. I would say. I think that when you deal with the loss of a coach like Brian Dable, who was so impactful for Josh Allen and limiting his turnovers. And let's make no mistake about it. That's Josh Allen's game. He's going to put the ball in very precarious situations. He's going to be out there and he's going to try to fight, be Superman, put the team on his back. We know that about Josh Allen. I think that's not I don't think that's an overstatement. But I think when you look at it, I think the Bills are in a position now where they don't even know who their true number one wide receivers are going to be. They don't even know what this set defense is going to look like. It's going to be so weird to not see, uh, you know, Poyer or, Micah Hyde back there. It's going to be very, very weird to not see those guys back there. Those guys have been staples in Buffalo. Those guys, you talk about one of the most consistent safety tandems in the league. It's been that. It's been that. But when they signed a guy like Von Miller to a $200+ million contract, and obviously he gets hurt the whole 9 yards, it makes you wonder, did the Buffalo Bills go all in and did this thing fall apart? And I think that's a real conversation to have. Listen, I like their rookie pick in Dalton Kincaid from a year ago. I like him. I think he's a good player. But am I gonna be up here and tell you that, hey, I believe that this Bills team, that the way it's currently constructed is a Super Bowl contender? Hell, I don't even know if they're a playoff contender this year. I don't know that. I don't know if the Bills are. I don't know if the Bills are the team that everybody is expecting them to be this year. I don't know that. They lost a lot of key pieces. 100%, Matt Heitzman lost a lot of key pieces. Listen, their running back, James Cook, he showed a lot of good things last year. I like Joe Brady. I like Joe Brady. He's a fun guy. Trust me, that weekend ending, he's a fun guy. But I think we got to be honest with ourselves here. You're relying on a rookie wide receiver in Keon Coleman. Obviously, you got Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel has not lived up to what the expectations were going to be for him. I think it just leaves a lot to be desired. I think it leaves a lot to be desired. Still like the talented pieces that Buffalo has on their defensive line, from Gregory Rousseau, Ed Oliver, yeah, that's what does it for me. Outside of that, we're looking at their roster. Kyer Elam doesn't seem like he was the pick that they hoped he would be. That thing hasn't worked out for them too much at the quarterback position. I come away after looking at this Buffalo Bills roster with the overall theme of just unimpressed. Forgive me. I'm just unimpressed by the roster that they've charted out. And listen, I get it. You can only work with what you got. But I think that there's some real concerns there. Hopefully they prove me wrong. Hopefully the Buffalo Bills prove me wrong. And I sit up on this show and I say, you know what, I was wrong. The Buffalo Bills have looked like the real deal. But when I look at it, I say, listen, the Miami Dolphins, I think that's their division. I know a lot of people are fans of the Jets right now. A lot of people are praising the Jets right now. I'm not there though. I think in my heart, it's the Miami Dolphins division. I think that the Jets are going to be a very, very tough team as long as Aaron Rodgers could truly stay healthy and all the weird stuff could be put to the side. I think the Jets could be problems. And I think the Bills could be third in their division. I really believe that. Patriots are not there yet. Patriots not even in that realm yet. But I think it's a tough division this year. I think it's a competitive division this year. And it's funny. Earlier in the season, or in the offseason, I was under the belief that the Bills could, potentially hold the rights to that division again and really prove themselves. But I don't believe that same thing. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, it's a long season. It's not even week one. Well, it's week one's here, but it's not even. We haven't gone through the first stretch of games just yet. So we'll see how the Buffalo Bills look coming out of week one. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see how Josh Allen and company can put this whole thing together. But I think that a rebuild is staring them right in the face. And I think oftentimes when a rebuild is staring you in the face, it's probably better to embrace it versus run from it. If you guys do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. I actually want to bring in now, as we transition over to our fantasy football discussion, I'll bring in TWSN fantasy analyst Michael O'Hara as he's going to get you guys all squared away for week one of the NFL season. Mike, how you doing, my man?
Not too bad, Malik. I'm looking forward to it. First things first, happy birthday. Happy to be a part of the inaugural show here and talk some week one fantasy football. I mean, it's here. We've bridged the gap from February to now, and football season, it's officially here, man.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited for that. And first and foremost, thank you so much for the birthday wishes too, man. I really am appreciative of that. It's been a long journey, brother. We talked about doing something really, really awesome like this. So let's jump into fantasy football. Listen, you are the guy at fantasy here at TWSN. You and our guy, Steve Bradshaw, are the guys here when it comes to fantasy football. Mike, I know there's a lot that you wanted to get the people going with. Listen, you know me, man. I retired from fantasy football because, what the story I like to tell people is I was just too damn good. But the actual story is I sucked towards, I left fantasy football for a year or two. And then I realized I was like, holy crap, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not that guy anymore. So we bring on smart people like you that can cover, I would say, the sport of fantasy football, because fantasy football has become its own sport. So, here, I know there's a couple things that you want to talk to the people about. The floor is yours, my man.
Of course, yeah. Let's get going. Fantasy football, absolutely massive. I hope the listeners are ready for their healthy dose of fantasy football content this season. But the first thing I wanted to hit on is draft season's wrapping up. Most of the final drafts were done this weekend, and everyone's looking forward to the week one kickoff on Thursday. But I just wanted to rattle off a couple of names for guys that you should consider stashing on your bench before they take the field this week. And these are just some guys who are owned in less than 40% of ESPN fantasy leagues. So you should be able to pick them up in the vast majority of leagues out there. And these are just some guys I'm really excited about. And I think they're worth the bench stash. Just kind of see what happens in these first few games. And if it doesn't work out, you can drop them. But I just don't think any of these guys should be available in your leagues. The first one is Dolphins running back Jalen Wright. They drafted him in the third round out of Tennessee this year, and it's no secret to what Mike McDaniel's doing. This is another speedster. He ran 4.3 at the combine, and we saw in the preseason that he's just a really perfect fit in Mike McDaniel's scheme, and he's just the perfect handcuff running back. He's got two paths to getting reps with this team. As much as the fantasy community wants to get excited about it, Devon Achane is not a bell cow back, so if Raheem Mostert goes down, he's going to be getting reps. And if Achane goes down, we'll see Wright getting some reps. So this guy is just a perfect fit, fits like a glove. We know Mike McDaniel loves this guy, so stash him on your bench. And if one of those guys goes down, you're going to have a weekly starter, and you picked him up off of the waiver wire. The second name I wanted to get to is Broncos running back Jaleel McLaughlin. This was he was arguably the most productive running back in the history of college football. And he somehow went undrafted last season. He makes the roster for the Broncos. And now that Samaje Perine, a Cincinnati hometown favorite, he's gone in Denver, and it opens up the door for Jaleel McLaughlin to be the primary receiving back in this offense. And he was highly productive, one of the most efficient and effective pass catchers out of the backfield last year. Sean Payton loves checking the ball down to their running backs. They did it at the highest rate of any team last year. So I think Jaleel McLaughlin can carve out a big role alongside Javonte Williams and be a big payoff in PPR leagues. The third name here is Rico Dowdle.
Let me ask you a question, actually, Mike.
Go ahead.
I want to talk to you about Jaleel McLaughlin really quickly.
Yeah, of course.
Who do you think winds up with more snaps out of him and Javonte? I got to ask you that.
Yeah, I do think it's Javonte. And there's one thing. Tomorrow you'll have Benjamin Albright on. He's very much plugged into this. He's been on that same kind of train. Javonte Williams probably going to lead this backfield in terms of just total touches and snaps. Maybe a 60-40 split between McLaughlin and Javonte is kind of what we're expecting. Last year was kind of a three-headed monster with Perine in there. But now that Perine's out the door, this could be a two-man backfield completely. So Javonte getting a lot of the early down rushing work with McLaughlin mixing in there, but I really do like McLaughlin to play a pretty significant role in this offense, given what the burst and explosion that we saw last year. He didn't play a whole lot, but he really, really impressed me when he was on the field last year. So this could be a very sizable split.
And I want to touch on that even more. So I think that when you get a rookie quarterback, obviously Bo Nix is slated to be the starter for the Denver Broncos. They often rely on, those safety valves. They often rely on their tight ends. They often rely on their running backs. I often feel like you see, young quarterbacks go to their running backs a lot more than probably their true pass catchers, I would say, because honestly, that there's no better way to take pressure off of a young quarterback and get him acclimated to the league by leaning on, your running backs, by leaning on those guys that can, carry the ball, but that can also offer you that safety valve out of the backfield.
100%. And it's not even the rookie quarterback narrative either. It's that's exactly what Sean Payton wants to do. We saw it with Drew Brees. He wants to do this quick hitting, short passing stuff. And he has always historically heavily utilized his running backs. So it's the perfect storm between Bo Nix being a rookie and just that's Sean Payton's offensive philosophy. It's the perfect storm for Jaleel McLaughlin to play a big role immediately. And someone in the comments asking if McLaughlin was the reason for Perine getting moved out. It was a little bit of everything. They were paying Perine a little bit more than they would have liked to for him to be like just this third back in the backfield. And then the fact that McLaughlin, he was really, really impressive last year, showed signs of legitimate burst and a super effective pass catcher. But moving on to this third running back that I really think should be stashed on all rosters, I think it's really a crime that he is rostered in 35% of ESPN leagues right now. It's Rico Dowdle. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think Rico Dowdle is a really good running back, but we're talking about the guys that he's competing with are Ezekiel Elliott, Deuce Vaughn, and Dalvin Cook. And I know Dalvin Cook has just been one of those kind of storylines. Like, I think there's a real chance he doesn't even play a snap for the Dallas Cowboys this year. That's like how beyond Dalvin Cook's prime we are. And Ezekiel Elliott, he can do some in pass protection, and he can fall forward for 2 yards at the goal line. But Rico Dowdle, it's not going to take much for him to stand out against this competition. That's all of the reports that have been coming out of Dallas training camp this season, and he's just head and shoulders above these other guys in terms of what his potential ceiling could be. So I would get him on your roster, see what the division of snaps looks like between him and Elliott in week 1, and move on from there. But I legitimately think he could be the lead back in an offense that we expect to be top 10 in the NFL this year. I mean, the last 4 seasons under Dak Prescott, the Cowboys have ranked top 6 in total offense. So I understand that they've lost a couple of pieces in Michael Gallup and some offensive linemen, but I fully expect this offense to be one of the best in the league. I mean, they led the league in scoring last year. So getting a guy who could be the 1A in this offense off the waiver wire, it's a no-brainer to me.
That's a take. Yeah. Rico Dowdle is a take that I haven't heard anyone talk about. All right. And I love the fact that you brought up, Dalvin Cook being past his prime and the whole 9 yards. Rico Dowdle is a guy, obviously Daniel here, he actually put me on too when he was coming out of, out of his class. And, I think it's one of those things where It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how that all shakes shakes out for the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, they've had a very I would say a efficient running game through the years, and they Dak definitely relies on his running backs. It's gonna be interesting to see how it all kind of shakes together. But Mike, let's keep with the fantasy football talk. I know there was something else that you wanted to get the people going for.
Yeah. Let's move on to kind of just what you should expect and what you should be looking for in week one. I think this is really important because all offseason, when you're talking fantasy football, I mean, it's just projecting. You really don't know what things are going to look like and what players are going to be doing, what roles they're going to be used in. So I think that it's really important to understand what to look for in week one when these players take the field, because I mean, like I said, for the last 5-6 months, we've just been guessing here. And this is the first clue we're going to get from the coaches, from the teams on how they plan to deploy these players. And just like I said with Dowdle, paying attention to how that backfield is chopped up between Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott, I think that applies to every single player. Just looking what sort of role they take on. And last year, this was like the big thing for this last year was Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams ended up being a top 5 running back, and he was a clear smash on the waiver wire after week one. He played 67% of the snaps, handled about 40% of the carries. So just paying attention to how players are utilized in their offense is super, super crucial. And if you're not as big of a guy, if you don't care about that as much as I do, just go check my workout at TWSN. I'll be covering that, everything you need to know in terms of how players are being utilized, who to attack on the waiver wire. That'll be out early after week one on TWSN. And I've got you covered. It's no big deal if you're not trying to look into these advanced analytics, look into this player usage. But that's the biggest thing. And then the other thing I really wanted to hit on was pump the brakes with the rookies. You drafted some really exciting rookies. You've got Rome Odunze, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr. Some of these guys we think will have big roles from week one. Those guys being Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors. I really expect them to play a big role in their offense from week one. But a guy like Rome Odunze, you're really drafting him for the back half of the season. He's got Keenan Allen in front of him. I personally think that Rome Odunze will surpass Keenan Allen by the middle of the season. I really don't think Keenan Allen is much of a talent anymore. I think Rome Odunze is far superior.
That's a take. That's a take.
It is.
Whoa, that's a take. So you're telling me you don't think you think Rome Odunze by middle part of the season will surpass Keenan Allen? And it's because is Mike O'Hara saying that he believes Keenan Allen is effectively washed? Am I hearing that right?
You are hearing that.
Wow.
I believe. And so Shane Waldron came over from the Seattle Seahawks. We saw him absolutely ice Jackson Smith-Njigba by last year in his rookie season, and he is now the Bears offensive coordinator. I don't put it out of the realm of possibility that Shane Waldron just goes with veteran deference and allows Keenan Allen to be the second wide receiver throughout the year. But I believe by midseason, it will be in the Bears' best interest to get Rome Odunze out there ahead of Keenan Allen in 2 wide receiver sets. Obviously, Odunze is going to be out there in 3 wide receiver sets, but I believe Odunze is a special talent. I mean, there were teams that had Odunze ahead of Neighbors and Harrison on their draft boards. He was kind of viewed in the same range as those guys. And I mean, he ended up being a top 10 pick. It's not like this guy is a significant step down from either Harrison or Odunze. He is in a bit more crowded receiver room, but Keenan Allen was a rental for this team. I mean, they traded a 4th-round pick for him. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He is not going to be a Chicago Bear next year. This is a guy who it's just a bridge for Rome Odunze and to give them a little bit more depth. But yeah, I fully believe it will be in the Bears' best interest to have Rome Odunze as their second starting wide receiver by the middle of the season. And if Shane Waldron is the one who buries that, like he did Jackson Smith-Njigba last year, not playing him ahead of dusty old Tyler Lockett, it is what it is. Dusty. But that's what I think. But Keenan Allen, he benefited from that power slot role last year in the Chargers offense. I don't think it's not going to be in the Bears' best interest, in my opinion, to get him going ahead of Rome Odunze.
Wow, man, that's a take. Wow. Keenan Allen's been one of the better wide receivers in the National Football League for forever, it feels like at this point. And he still plays at a high level. Obviously, he's dealt with his fair share of injuries, which always seem to come down the stretch, right? But it could open up an opportunity for a guy like Rome Odunze. And it's crazy. Our guy Daniel at TWSN, he was very high on Rome Odunze as well, too. And it's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing all shakes out, too, man. I didn't expect that take. I'm usually the guy with the hot takes. I'm usually the guy that comes on the show and says that. But man, I'm kind of seeing your angle a little bit. I'm picking up what you're putting down, if you will. But you talked about some of these rookie players. I know we got to let you get out of here soon, but I want to talk to you about Malik Neighbors, for instance, in the Giants. Listen, the Giants, they needed a true number one wide receiver. They needed an outlet for a guy like Daniel Jones. So I want to get your opinion on his fantasy outlook and his value that he brings to a Giants football team this year. Are you as high on him as most people? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I'm higher than him on most people. He goes at the end of the fourth round in the majority of these drafts. I mean, I know drafts are basically closed out by now, but if you still have a draft, go ahead and take him in the third round. You can take him in the end of the second round if you want to. I did 2 drafts with some of my buddies yesterday. I took him in both leagues. This guy is going to be a monster on pure value or pure volume alone. We saw him go out in the second preseason game with the Giants starters. He saw a target on 35% of the routes that he ran. Like, that's just absolutely absurd. No one that would have been among the highest rate in the league in terms of his earning targets. You can say what you want about the Giants offense. I mean, this is a team under Brian Dable that we people were buying into 2 years ago. I mean, they won a playoff game 2 years ago. So just in terms of the Giants offense, it's not as bad as everyone thinks, in my opinion. But then this is just a pure bet on talent and volume. I mean, I don't know how much LSU football you watched last year, but good God, this guy was absolutely dominant on the football field last year. And this is just, he has better yak ability than Marvin Harrison Jr. He's going to see more targets than Marvin Harrison Jr. This guy could realistically set the rookie record for targets in a single season. I mean, they have made it abundantly clear that this offense is going to run through Malik Neighbors. They have made it clear throughout the entirety of the offseason, and then they go out and do it on the field in the preseason. I really think that we should expect in the range of 130 to 140 targets. The rookie record was 163 from Anquan Bolden in 2004, I believe it was. If Malik Neighbors pushes for that record, I really would not be shocked whatsoever. This guy is an elite route runner, an elite talent, and he has the explosive playmaking ability to overcome the poor offensive environment in the Giants. But then again, I just really don't think it's as bad as what people are expecting. I mean, this, like I said, this is a team that won a playoff game 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I'm all in on Malik Neighbors. Go ahead, take him in the third round, because you might not get him in the fourth, but anytime in the third round, go ahead. I'm very, very high on Malik Neighbors this year.
Well, so Malik Neighbors, you believe he's going to have the productivity of a guy that could, get 130 to 140 targets this year and even challenge for the NFL record for most targets for a rookie, basically.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. And if you look at it too, he was Jaden Daniels' guy at LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, consistently going to him over and over and over and over again. And I think that a Giants football team missed that a little bit. I think that they were missing. I think they were missing a guy that could really take the top off the defense while also being there consistently from over and over and over again. I'm pretty excited for this Giants offense a little bit too, man. A guy that I'm watching in that offense is Jalen Hyatt. I'm excited to see if he can really step into a role, be that home run threat for the Giants, really allow things to open up for Malik Neighbors and other receivers on that team as well too. But I agree. I'm not buying into the notion that this Giants offense isn't good. Listen, Brian Dable's offenses are typically good. I think that confidence is real, and I feel like you've seen so many bad clips coming out of preseason or training camp, I would say, with Daniel Jones and stuff like that. I wonder how much of it is actually fool's gold, though. I do think the Giants could shock some people and really, I won't say make the playoffs, but I'll say that I think that they can shock the people and be a very competitive team. And I think that some of the additions that they made to the roster speak to that. And I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you real quick before I let you get out of here.
Of course.
There's a running back that was drafted this year who, if you know me, you knew I was high on him. His name is Will Shipley, and he's for the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you see any fantasy value for him at all? Do you even expect a bigger role for him as the season goes on? Listen, he had a very productive preseason for the Eagles too. Very productive preseason for the Eagles. But do you see that guy carving out a role for himself with the Philadelphia Eagles?
I do think he can carve out a role. I don't think it will be enough to be a fantasy relevant role right away. just because of the presence of Saquon Barkley. But we've got the reports that they're mixing in with the ones, both Shipley and Kenneth Gainwell. And we've seen Nick Sirianni use running back by committee basically every single year he's been in Philadelphia. So it wouldn't be shocking to me. And Saquon Barkley, he's older than everyone kind of expects. He is on the borderline of an aging running back. The Giants had to use him at an 80% snap share last year, in the last 2 years even, just because they were just starved for offensive weaponry and production. I don't think that the Eagles acquired Saquon Barkley to push them over that Super Bowl edge. They know they can win games without trotting him out there for 80% of snaps. So I do think that there is some sort of role for Will Shipley in terms of just like being the secondary back there. But he is if you need to handcuff Saquon Barkley, he is my preferred handcuff to Barkley at the end of your draft, just because we've seen Kenneth Gainwell. He's not much. Like he can do some as a pass catcher, but he's at best just like a complete backup. He's a jag, just a guy. It's not much out of Kenneth Gainwell. I think Will Shipley is a late round dart throw that you can make on a Saquon Barkley team. And like I said, I do think he carves out a role early in the year just because of how Nick Sirianni is not going to throw Saquon Barkley out there at such a high rate like we've seen in the last couple of years. But I don't think it'll be enough to be relevant in fantasy, but expect to see Shipley out there on the field in his rookie year for sure.
Mike, man, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining us on the Sit Down Malik Wright morning show, man. Listen, I think that you provided some great insight. That Roma Dunze take, Keenan Allen take is going to be something. I'll tell you that right now. But I love all the great work that you do over at TWSN. Obviously, you guys could follow him at his X handle. And Mike, I believe you'll be joining us back on the show on Friday, man.
Oh yeah, I'll be back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, my man. I appreciate you.
All right, catch up with you soon, Malik.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Sit Down Malik Wright morning show. If you guys do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live each and every single, not every single, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And as we get you guys all squared away for the upcoming football season, and we'll be talking everything through. I want to transition some stuff over to the UFC. Let's talk UFC for a little bit. Listen, there is a fight that the UFC could make right now, and I'm not quite sure why they're reluctant to make said fight. They're giving their fans, right, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, and they're selling us on Stipe Miocic is the heavyweight GOAT. Jon Jones is the GOAT of mixed martial arts. Let's put those two together and let's figure out who the heavyweight GOAT is, right? Is that what we're fighting for? Let me just say this really quickly. This is not to disrespect Jon Jones's legacy or what Jon Jones has accomplished in the mixed martial arts sphere. No one gives a crap about Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic in 2024. No one cares about it. You want to talk about solidifying your legacy at the heavyweight division, Stipe Miocic doesn't do that for you. If you want to beat a guy and you say, you know what, I beat that guy, so therefore I'm now the heavyweight GOAT, where there's a list of guys that would probably knock out said heavyweight GOAT right now. Said heavyweight GOAT and Stipe Miocic hasn't won a fight in 2 years. Maybe longer. Said heavyweight GOAT Stipe Miocic hasn't fought in 2 years. The last time we saw him, he was knocked out cold by Francis Ngannou. I got to be honest with you. I think the UFC knows what I know. And listen, maybe you might view me as a guy with a hot mic who doesn't know what he's talking about, but I like to think I know the sport of mixed martial arts, UFC. And here's what I'll tell you right now. If the UFC locked Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall in the octagon in 2024, I believe one man would leave and his name would be Tommy Aspinall. I believe that. I believe Tom Aspinall is the new age of heavyweights. He's fast, he's strong, he's good ground game, has good striking, and he's fearless. Tom Aspinall has almost run roughshod over the heavyweight division. He's beaten everybody that there is to beat except for Cyril Gane, who refuses to step foot in there with him. He knocked out the scariest knockout puncher in the UFC heavyweight division, Sergey Pavlovich. He proved he could do that on 10 days' notice. What's next for this guy? We haven't seen Tom Aspinall make a third round because these guys don't last long in there with him. The one blemish on his UFC record is when he blew his ACL out against Curtis Blades. He made right of that when he made his return just recently and knocked out Curtis Blades in the first round. Listen, Tom Aspinall has answered every single challenge. And for Dana White to say, Tom Aspinall is not deserving of anything, I question that. We got to have that conversation. What do you mean by that? This is a guy that came in on 10 days' notice and saved the Madison Square Garden pay-per-view because your boy got injured. When we talk about what fighters deserve, there's nobody that probably deserves a fight with the GOAT more than Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall deserves the opportunity to make his legacy. He deserves that. Now, Jon Jones has been on record saying essentially, this is it for me. This is my last year fighting. He's been on record basically saying that. But Tom Aspinall is a guy that has to beg and make videos to say, hey, John, don't fight Stipe Miocic, fight me. That is the whole purpose of an interim champion, right? Is for the interim champion to fight the champion when the champion is ready and the champion and interim champion decide who the actual champion is, right? That's the whole purpose of it. So forgive me. Maybe it's ignorance on my part. I have no idea, but what I can tell you is I think that the UFC is getting it wrong. I don't think that there's a bigger fight that you can make right now outside of Ilia Topuria versus Sean O'Malley. There's not a bigger fight that you could make besides Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall, and I would take Tom Aspinall today. But let's dive a little deeper. Jon Jones' legacy at heavyweight, is it even a serious run? Can anybody sit up here with a serious look on their face and tell me what Jon Jones has done at the heavyweight division is even relevant? Does anyone care? He fought a cherry picker in Cyril Gane. Submitted the guy. We all knew the guy didn't have any wrestling. I mean, Francis Ngannou, for God's sakes, held him down. This is a guy, right, where Jon Jones waited almost, it felt, till Francis Ngannou left the UFC to make that move to heavyweight. Now you got a guy on your heels and Tommy Aspinall who has proven that, hey, you know what? I am ready for it, John. I could beat all these guys you line them up against me, but I respect you. This is no disrespect. This is me just telling you I'm better than you. And here you have Jon Jones saying, Stipe Miocic will solidify my legacy. What? In what other sport does the loser who hasn't won in 2.5 years get a shot at the crown, get a shot at a championship? That's not how it works. We're now awarding championship fights based on resumes? Are we serious? And I think that's the big gripe that I have right now because the UFC is one of my favorite sports. One of my favorite sports. Or MMA is one of my favorite sports. UFC is my favorite organizations. And I think that this sets a bad precedent for up-and-coming fighters. Like, is there a reason outside of injuries or bad, poor timing that Khamzat Chimaev hasn't had a UFC championship fight yet? Why do these guys who are ultra talented, but maybe they don't say the right stuff on the mic, or maybe they don't necessarily market themselves the way UFC wants, why do those guys have to win 10 fights in a row in order to get a shot at a belt? Anybody got an answer for me on that one? Because I don't understand it for the life of me. I don't think Tom Aspinall, who's literally carrying the interim championship tag, meaning he is the champion of the heavyweight division because your champion is not active. Why can't he fight the champion? What are we protecting Jon Jones from? We all know what happens when Stipe Miocic fights Jon Jones. Jon Jones is probably going to enter that fight as a -600 favorite, as he should. As he should. But come on. We got to get real. We got to deal with reality, man. We got to deal with reality. And I don't think that fight with Stipe Miocic does anything for Jon Jones' legacy. It's just simply saying, oh, well, Mom, Dad, I saw Jon Jones fight once. That's about it. That's all that clears up. No one wants to see you fight a semi-retired fireman. All due respect to Stipe Miocic, but you're not that guy anymore. I think we guys deal in reality. Let's keep the conversation rolling. You guys do me a favor. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. Remember, we are live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time as we break through everything with sports. I'll be live back tomorrow with my guy, Benjamin Albright, Broncos Insider, as we'll be talking all things Denver Broncos and more. But let's keep the conversation rolling in the UFC still. Gilbert Burns taking on Sean Brady this week. Gilbert Burns taking on Sean Brady. And you know what? It's a big fight for Gilbert Burns. It's a big fight for Gilbert Burns for a lot of reasons. He's coming in with a lot of pressure. And maybe he doesn't necessarily feel the pressure, but if I were him, I would feel the pressure. I would. This is a guy in Gilbert Burns who's dealt with his struggles as of recently, lost to Jack Della Maddalena. This is a guy in Gilbert Burns who needs this fight. He needs this fight with Sean Brady. And listen, Sean Brady, tough out. He has that blemish on his record where we saw him get taken out by Bilal Muhammad. But for the most part, Sean Brady has been a juggernaut in the welterweight division since he entered. I say that to say, for all you betting people out there, which is going to be a nice transition and segue to our next topic, I go with Gilbert Burns in this fight. I think Gilbert beats Sean Brady. I do. I think Gilbert proves that he's still a tough out. I think Gilbert Burns proves that he's still one of the guys in the welterweight division who can compete for a championship. I believe that in my heart. I think Gilbert Burns realizes the magnitude of this moment. I think he realizes that he needs to beat Sean Brady. If he wants to be taken serious, if he wants his legacy to be taken serious, if he wants to continue to put his name up there with some of the upper echelon in the welterweight division and get those fights and get those exciting fights and not just be looked at as a gatekeeper, I think he beats Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady's good. I just don't know if Sean Brady's that good just yet. I've seen Gilbert Burns take Khamzat Chimaev to the limits. I've seen Gilbert Burns be in there with Jorge Masvidal. I've seen Gilbert Burns beat the dog crap out of former welterweight champion Tyron Woodley, albeit it wasn't the same Tyron Woodley we knew and loved. I think Gilbert has one more in him. I think he beats Sean Brady. I think he makes a name this week. He beats Sean Brady. And I think he kind of rides high a little bit after that one. Want to thank you guys again for spending your mornings with us live on the Sit Down with Malik Wright morning show. This is my favorite part of the show. One of my favorite parts of the show. And that's where we start talking about bets. We get you guys all excited for week 1 NFL bets. So much in store. The right bet is back, but it's in Sit Down with Malik Wright form. And there is no right bet without the guy himself. Without the guy himself here at TWSN, Daniel Alameda. Daniel Alameda, welcome back, man.
Thank you, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to be back, and it's a special day. It's on your birthday. So once again, everybody do me a huge favor. Type down in the chat, happy birthday to Malik, man. Happy birthday. You're the guy that helps make this all run, man. So happy birthday. You should enjoy this. And I know we're going to go out and get a little food and have some fun. So just wanted to give you a little shout out on your birthday.
Man, I appreciate that so much. I
sure.
really do. But Daniel, NFL week 1 is here. This is our season. This is where we thrive. This is where we excel. I'm so excited to bring bets back to people and do this in a big way with you, man. But I want to talk to you about some of your favorite our guy Chuck2624, he says Daniel signed his new contract after holding out all summer. It would appear that way. It would appear that way.
No, it's not.
Contrary to belief, it would appear that way. That Daniel is back after he held out for the summer.
That's crazy.
He held my feet to the fire. He said, Malik.
That's crazy work.
He said, Malik, give me that damn dollars. I need to make something happen. No, funny. Man, but it's good to have you back, brother.
Thank you, man.
It's good to have you back, man. Week 1 bets are here.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about some of your favorite week 1 props. I've been yapping a lot on the show.
Yeah.
This is your moment, man. This is your return. So like if you want to tell the people what some of your favorite prop bets are, I've got one prop bet that I really, really like. You know what it is already. I'll get to that. No, I'll let you start it off.
Okay.
I'll get to mine, but I'll let you go, man.
All right. So you're gonna have to stop me whenever you want, because I can yap all day long at this stuff. I mean, just looking at the lines. Let me just start this off. We've got obviously Malik's got his huge Bengals bet. I've got a huge one as well. I'm gonna save that for a couple games in. Let me just start this off. My favorite bet of the week, Malik. I love fading rookie quarterbacks in week 1. It is one of the best trends that we've watched. It's one of the best trends that has proven itself time and time again come NFL season. And when I look at the Chicago Bears, this is the game I'm going to target, right? The Chicago Bears versus the Tennessee Titans. The Bears are minus 190. They're 4.5-point favorites against the Tennessee Titans, right? And everybody wants to discuss the Titans as the bottom feeder in the AFC South. I don't think so personally. I look at Brian Callahan and I look at the weapons that they have on their offense. I look at a defense that has consistently been a top 10 unit besides their secondary. And I look at a secondary that has added a ton this offseason. I look at, they added Chidobe Awuzie. They added L'Jarius Sneed, one of the best quarterbacks from the Kansas City Chiefs. And you're telling me those guys can't go toe-to-toe with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze? I believe those are 3 very good wide receivers, but you're telling me they're 4-point favorites? I don't think so. And I look at an offense with the Tennessee Titans. The Chicago Bears defensive line isn't very good. They got Montez Sweat is solid, but 4.5-point favorites. To be honest, this is my favorite bet of the week. Give me the Titans at plus 160 to win outright on the road against the Chicago Bears. And let me just also say something else. Rookie quarterbacks, 8 straight rookie quarterbacks, Malik, have lost their season debut in week 1. The first quarterback that did it recently was Sam Darnold back in 2019. Stroud, lost. Bryce Young, lost. Anthony Richardson, lost. Trevor Lawrence, lost. Mac Jones, lost. Zach Wilson, lost. Joe Burrow, lost. Kyler Murray tied, and the Sam Darnold won.
Daniel has stats.
I'm going to be honest with you, Malik. Titans should not be plus 160 at this favorite bet of the week. Plus 160. Tennessee Titans. Let's keep it rolling. My second favorite bet, I look at the Texans versus the Colts, and I see a lot of people obviously hyping up the Texans. I'm one of them. The Texans on the road at minus 150. Give me that all day long. Minus 2.5. I think the Texans win by a touchdown here. CJ Stroud, I trust how they have consistency at the offense coordinator. They have consistency with their defense coordinator. They have consistency with their head coach. And I look at the weapons that the Texans have: Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, Nico Collins. I look at those guys against the Colts who all offseason long, it was their thing. Let's go out and get a cornerback. They tried to go out and get L'Jarius Sneed. Didn't happen. I think the Texans are absolutely going to cook the Indianapolis Colts. And I know it's a divisional game, but this Texans team, I truly believe they're for real, and I don't think week 1 they go out there and lose. Minus 150 for a team that is hyped up, I truly believe is a terrible price. Give me minus 150, as well as I'd even sprinkle up at the Texans to win by 7+ in this. Huge fan of the Houston Texans. And my third bet, Malik, the Minnesota Vikings against the New York Giants. This is one of my favorite bets of the entire week. Give me the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going bold with this, and I know I'm starting this off crazy, but I just look at how the Minnesota Vikings, their weapon room, I'm a huge fan. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, even Sam Darnold. I just don't trust the New York Giants defense. I think that their secondary is putrid. I think they have a great defensive line, and that is the one thing that could bite me in the ass here. But I look at the Minnesota Vikings offensive line. The question heading into this year was, who's going to play quarterback? But it wasn't about the receivers. It wasn't about the talent that they even have on the defensive line. It was about, okay, who's going to be the quarterback? And it wasn't even about the offensive line. They have a top 10 unit at the offensive line. I think they can stop Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. That would be the one, biggest issue there. But give me the Minnesota Vikings to win outright on the road. Let's go to a couple of prop bets, and then we'll hit the Cincinnati Bengals game. Malik, I'm sorry, I'm just in heaven right now. This is week 1. I'm looking at a couple prop bets. First off, I'm going to the Monday Night Football game, the Jets versus the 49ers, and I'm taking I'm buying into the hype, right? I'm looking at Garrett Wilson, and I'm looking at the New York Jets. I'm not taking the Jets to win, right? The Jets are getting a lot of hype, but Garrett Wilson's prop is at 65 yards. And when I look at the New York Jets, who are the weapons that they have? They have Mike Williams. They got Breece Hall. And I truly believe, I'm with you. I think the 49ers come out here, and I think they try to put a statement out on the New York Jets. I think the 49ers get, up big. But you're telling me Garrett Wilson in his first year with Aaron Rodgers fully healthy, I think Garrett Wilson goes off for 100+ yards. And I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the rest of the receivers line. I don't understand how his is at the same as some of these other receivers. So Garrett Wilson, over 65 to be safe. That's my favorite bet. And if you want to get a little sprinkle, once again, I look at the 49ers, great defensive line. They got Fred Warner, but I see people online talking about Travarius Ward. I see people online talking about the 49ers cornerbacks like, oh, they're going to come out and this is a different 49ers defense. Their cornerbacks aren't. And people forget, but Garrett Wilson is on the same level. I truly believe he will be on the same level of a CD Lamb. He's on the same level of a Jalen Waddle, of a T. Higgins. Garrett Wilson is that good, and he just needs a quarterback to show that. So it's not Zach Wilson. It's not Tim Boyle. He's got Aaron Rodgers. So 100-plus yards, that's probably one of my favorite bets for a sprinkle at plus 280. But I like his over 65 yards. Want me to keep going?
You can keep going,
All
man.
right.
This is your time to shine. Listen, the people
No,
have missed you for an entire summer.
no,
You can go
I
on, man.
appreciate it.
But I will tell you, I'll hop in and I'll say this. One of my favorite props this week is a prop that you guys have known me for if you followed the right bet, if you followed our previous work. If you're subscribed to the TWSN Patreon, I don't know if we still have the QR code on the screen. If you want to get all of our picks, all of our daily picks, all you have to do is simply subscribe to the TWSN Patreon. That's where our team gets all of our picks. The QR code is right to my right, right by the Alabama thing. So if you want to subscribe to TWSN Patreon, several tiers to choose from, get all your get you all going for the NFL Week 1, UFC, and so much more. I love Josh Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns against the Cardinals. Listen, I know what I said earlier on the show about Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, and I still believe that. But I also think that this is like low-hanging fruit. I think that this is an opportunity where Josh Allen is probably going to get those 2 passing touchdowns that was one of my favorite props to go with this last year and beyond. And before they fell off a cliff at points last year, he was hitting it quite regularly. But that's a touchdown prop that I like. You can get it minus 150, so it makes a lot of sense. But then you can continue.
No, for sure. I'm with you. And let's stick with that same game. This is one, if you want me to be honest, obviously I gave some of my favorites at the beginning. I would write this one down. And I look at that Arizona Cardinals, Buffalo Bills game. Malik, I see no defense. I see no defense. I look at the Arizona Cardinals. Let's talk about it. Who's the star in their defense? I don't see one. Linebackers, Isaiah Simmons gone. Zaven Collins not there. What are we doing, right? Cornerbacks, what are we doing? Safety, I just don't see a world where this Cardinals defense is even close to a top 15, an even average defense this year. And even if they are an average defense, I look at the Buffalo Bills. They got questions at receiver. It's Josh Allen. And I look at the same thing on the flip side, the Arizona Cardinals offense. You got Trey McBride. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. as a rookie. You got Greg Dortch. You got James Conner. They're fully healthy. Kyler Murray is fully healthy. And I look at this point total, and it's 48.5. This is my favorite total of the week. Give me the over 48.5 for the Cardinals versus the Bills. Favorite of the week. Once again, the Bills, I can't harp on it enough. No Matt Milano. They lost Trey White. The safeties are gone. Their defense, it's just not there. And I look at the Cardinals. If there's one way I'm betting the Arizona Cardinals this week and even this upcoming season, it's the over 48.5. And let me switch over to one last game, Malik, I want to touch on. I think this is a very underrated game. The Bucks versus the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders right now are 3-point underdogs, but there's a prop I absolutely love, and I'm targeting a matchup that I absolutely love. The Commanders' secondary is atrocious, Malik. It's atrocious. You look at their defensive line, right? Their defensive line lost Montez Sweat. They lost Chase Young. There's a guy by the name of Mike Evans, Malik, and he is a wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he has the best matchup for week 1. So give me Mike Evans over receiving yards, but my favorite as well is give me him to score a touchdown. He scored a touchdown last year in week 1, and every single time he's faced the Washington Commanders, he scored a touchdown. And I'm just targeting matchups here, and I look at the Commanders. I don't trust the defense. And once again, the Buccaneers. Rachaad White isn't a goal line back. He's a shifty back, but he's not a goal line guy. Mike Evans is going up for 100 yards, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out and gets 2 tutties. So, favorite matchup of the week. Once again, with week 1, I target very good players against defenses and positional groups that I know are absolutely atrocious, or the exact opposite. Positional groups I know are great, and a player that I think isn't very good. I'm being safe here. Give me Mike Evans, and let's actually switch it over real quick to Cincinnati Bengals.
Before we do, I just want to run off a couple props that I like, and I know this is your thing, your stick, if you will, but I love Bijan Robinson over 3.5 receptions against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I see some real question marks with Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I know they obviously have Cole Holcomb, who I'm a big fan of, but outside of him, I think that they believe in their heart that they're getting something with Patrick Queen that they're not getting. I think Patrick Queen showed a lot of promise when he was paired with Roquan Smith, but I think that could look a little different because I definitely think he was a product of having that guy around. But it feels like if you overload Patrick Queen with too much information, he might not be able to put it all together. But I love Bijan Robinson this game, over 3.5 receptions, and I love Kyle Pitts in this game at 50 yards. Kyle Pitts to get 50 yards is plus money.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts to get 50 yards is plus money. So, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers, believe it or not, I think their cornerback room will be improved.
Yes.
And I think that they can provide issues for that Falcons wide receiver room. But we know Kirk Cousins loves to go to his tight ends. We know Kirk Cousins loves to go to tight end. And this is arguably probably the most athletically gifted, talented tight end that he's had since entering the league, and a guy like Kyle Pitts. And I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers will have an answer for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going with Kyle Pitts to have 50 yards. I also like Dalton Schultz to have over 3.5.
Kincaid.
Kincaid. No, Dalton Schultz.
Really?
Dalton Schultz.
Wow.
To have
Okay.
over 3.5 receptions. That's also plus money.
You know, it could be sneaky him
What's
to even
that?
score a touchdown.
Yeah.
It definitely, you got Joe Mixon there, but 3.5, that's his line?
3.5 is his line.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm taking that personally. I feel very, very confident in what we might see. There's also a sneaky line that I feel like is kind of going under the radar, and I'm gonna blow your mind when I tell you this. Adam Thielen,
Okay. Yeah.
over 36.5 yards receiving.
Yeah.
That's what his line's at.
Yeah.
Adam Thielen over 36.5 yards receiving. Now on FanDuel, at least his reception prop hasn't dropped yet. But when that does drop, that's something I'm going to feel very, very good about. And guess what the Deontay Johnson's receiving prop is at?
What?
48.5.
That's his line?
That's Deontay Johnson. I just want to tell y'all, Deontay Johnson is going to be a volume guy for the Panthers. He's a guy that I feel very, very good about. I feel like they'll be able to get the most out of that guy. Yeah. I can't wait for the reception props to drop. They're only the yardage has dropped so far. I'm really hopeful for the receptions because I have a funny feeling Adam Thielen's line is going to be like at 2.5 receptions or something like that because I think they're probably basing it off of how Bryce Young looked last year.
Yeah.
And they're not taking into account that Dave Canales is probably going to have that guy ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just kind of close it out. I'm with you, a couple rapid fire ones. I think the Panthers could go out there and beat the Saints outright. They're underdogs. And also something for week 1. I do like a lot of these unders. So Panthers versus Saints, divisional game. I love the under. Chargers versus Raiders, divisional game. Herbert's kind of injured. Raiders got Gardner Minshew. I like the under. And let me just finish it off. Cincinnati Bengals versus the Patriots. We discussed this one before, Malik, but this game is really giving me a Joe Burrow versus, oh my God, I'm trying to think of the game. We were at the game 2 years ago, the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons game where Joe Burrow absolutely went off. And people forget also, he played the Patriots 2 years ago, and he dropped at least 350, 360 passing yards. So Joe Burrow's line's at 260. And this is a team that, yes, they have 2 very solid running backs. They're passing the hell out of the ball. And I look at the Patriots, they ain't got a pass rush. Their linebackers are They got one very young, good corner. Joe Burrow is going to throw for 300 plus yards. And for his line to be at 260, in my opinion, is disrespectful. So give me Joe Burrow 300 plus passing yards at plus 240, Malik. Plus 240 for 300 yards. Yeah.
I think he cooks. I think he cooks. While we're on that same thought pattern, if you've been following me, you can follow me at Right Report, follow Daniel at Alameda Views. You guys already know what my favorite prop of that game is. Yeah. There's a guy that I'm looking at, and I'm sorry, I don't care who has opinions of it or who disagrees, if you will, but I've maintained the same belief that this guy's going to be an absolute force in Cincinnati. It's Mike Gesicki. It's Mikey G. Okay, we're going with Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki to have you could do I hope they didn't take it off. They took it off.
They took it off there, but I think it's on DraftKings.
Okay.
Check it out.
Mike Gesicki to get a touchdown was plus money. Major plus money. Him to have 2 touchdowns was even major plus money. I think that Mike Gesicki has a big day against the New England Patriots, former team. I'm looking at his receptions. I'm looking at his yards. I'm looking at Mike Gesicki. That's the only guy that I'm paying attention to. Obviously, Chase has his whole contract thing going on. Even if he does play, which I'm expecting him to play, I still think it's going to be one of those weird things where it's like, all right, maybe on a snap count, get him acclimated. It's going against the Patriots, not to be disrespectful, but I also wonder, hear me out. I wonder with the weirdness surrounding Jamar Chase's contract thing, the whole 9 yards, and could we see an emergence from Jermaine Burton on Sunday? This is a guy that has been practicing. This is a guy that has been trying to build up that rapport with Joe Burrow. Can we see more numbers from Jermaine Burton? Can we see Jermaine Burton's name flash? That's going to be the big thing. That is going to be the big thing. So, but with so many unknowns, and I expect T to be doubled, especially in the red zone, I think Mike Gesicki feast, especially
Plus 330.
Yes, plus 330 for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
For Mike Gesicki to have a touchdown is plus 330. I think Mike Gesicki scores the first Bengals touchdown.
First is plus 1,500. So $10 to win 150, $100 to win 1.5 thousand.
Man,
if he hits the first one. And Jermaine Burton to score any touchdown plus 600.
Listen, man, I wouldn't touch that necessarily,
Yeah.
but I would touch the Mike Gesicki one. I think Mike Gesicki has a big day, and I think you'll see. It's funny when we had Mike on earlier, I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it, but I think you'll see a lot of people clamoring for those to try to pick him up on their fantasy teams and stuff like that. But yeah, give me Mike Gesicki to have a big day against the New England Patriots as he has a little bit of a revenge tour. Daniel, is there any other props that you like?
I mean, yeah, there's some sneaky ones. And once again, if you guys are watching this, we appreciate you guys. We've got a Patreon to go check out, and we'll be having our full bets the rest of the week as well. If there's one last one that I would definitely be looking at, once again, I like fading these rookie quarterbacks. If you're putting a gun in my head and say pick one right now, give me Caleb Williams to throw an interception. I'm sticking with this game, Malik. I look at the Titans. This is probably my favorite game to bet on the slate because I think it's so overpriced. I think Caleb Williams could do good. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes out and throws for 250, 300 passing yards. He's going to throw a lot. And I'm telling you guys, the NFL season is a whole lot different than the preseason. Caleb Williams to throw an interception, as well as I can't believe the Titans are 4-point underdogs. If you want to be safe, take the points +4. But the Bears are not blowing out the Tennessee Titans, and Caleb Williams will throw a pick. So,
absolutely. Listen, I want to get to, and Daniel, stay with me on the set for
beautiful.
a little bit.
All right.
I want to get to two quick questions, if we can, that we answer before we wrap up and head out of here. So if you guys can do us a huge favor, drop your question down in the comment section. If you guys can do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications. Remember, the Sit Down with Malik Wright morning show will be taking place Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. is still State of the Jungle. But it's been just really, really cool just to, obviously be talking ball, having a show that I've always wanted to, bring to the people, give my opinion on so many things surrounding sports. And certainly we all know that, this is something that I wanted to do for quite some time. And I just hope that you guys know we're having some fun with it. Our guy, Gary Jellison, what's the prop on Daniel showing up on the show again this week? Oh no, I think he might practice a little bit. And then, I think he might not show up afterwards. He's jockeying for some position.
That's fine.
Gary Jellison said, this was earlier in the show. Let's go to Parker Blake. He says, why do the Bills always get so much preseason hype? I'll never understand it. Dan, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, and this also kind of goes back to Mike Shaw, our guy at TWSN. He's got a question, or kind of touch on the Bills. I think the Bills get preseason hype, and I think it's justified in the sense that you look at what they do in the regular season. I think it's fair to say, right? They've dominated the AFC East, the past 5 years, past 6 years. So it's fair to say in the regular season, and they are, let's not, cut it any two ways. They are a dominant team. They just can't get it done. And for people to now talk about them as if they're the same team, the fall off can happen. And I truly believe it may not be a 6-win season. It may not be an 8-win season, but we could see an ugly 9-win, 10-win season. Look at the Eagles last year. And I think that's kind of a good comp. The Eagles had an amazing record, but they limped into the playoffs. And I just look at, the Bills, and Mike Shaw said they have a top 5 cornerback group. I disagree. I like Taron Johnson, but I look at the secondary as a whole, and respectfully, I like Taylor Rapp. But if we're talking the huge drop-off between having consistency of Hyde and Poyer and having your star corner Trey White and Taron Johnson, I think that group is a bottom 15 unit. So the Bills have Josh Allen, so they'll be in it. But If we're talking Super Bowl, if we're talking anything more than 12 plus wins, I don't want to talk about with the Bills.
Yeah, I'm not a big Bills believer this year. I've been kind of on record, saying how I feel. I do think that Cardinals game is going to be interesting. I do definitely could see a lot of points. And I let's get to Just Shrek. He says, and appreciate you, Just Shrek. He's always in the comment section. Doesn't matter what
Appreciate you.
show, when we go live. He says, who is your picks for Coach of the Year, MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year? I don't know I don't know. That's a good question. I think MVP, I've been on record saying this. It's Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow wins. I think Joe Burrow wins MVP. And I think for Defensive Player of the Year, I'd have to go with, I'm going to just go with TJ Watt. I think TJ Watt wins it. Coach of the Year? Do you have a Coach of the Year?
I have one I love, Malik. I love it. Give me Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris for the Falcons. And this may sound like a broken record. I'm buying all into it this year. And we've done some of the research on this, and there's some cool trends. But the basic number one thing is to win Coach of the Year is not the best coach. It is the coach that improves their team the most from the previous year. So you have to look at not teams personally that won 10 plus games, because the baseline is every Coach of the Year has won 4 more wins than the previous year. So if a team won 11 wins, they've got to win 15. I look at the Falcons. They won 7 games last year. I can easily see them getting to 11, winning their division, and getting right into the playoffs. So Raheem Morris, I think it's all set up for him to win. He's hands down my favorite to win Coach of the Year. Hands down. Okay,
we see some DeMeco Ryan love in here. We got Mike Straw, who's just disagreeing with us, I guess, on everything today. He says Mahomes MVP, Chiefs 3-peat. That's just easy. That's just easy to say, but I don't see that personally. I think when Burrow is healthy and Bengals are healthy, I think that they've been a thorn in their side. Savati says, with as much help as they get from the league and officials, hey, they should win it every year. Yeah, I won't go there, but I will say that it's going to be interesting to see how the whole thing shakes out this football season. I think we're in for a very, very good football season. I will say, for one question you didn't ask, I don't know if it was Gary that asked the question I was Just Shrek. Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Ooh. I'm going with Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. I really believe that. I think that he is going to be the best quarterback this season out of the crop of quarterbacks that were drafted. And you know what's crazy? Had he been healthy, I probably would have been tempted to say JJ McCarthy. I liked what I saw from JJ McCarthy in the preseason. I think that the Vikings, unfortunately, as it was cut short, I think the Vikings should be proud, should be excited about their future. Yes. And I know that's kind of like, that's probably not the feeling they have right now, especially when the guy you spent the first round pick goes out with a knee cartilage tear, if you will. But I think JJ McCarthy is going to be a very, very good pro. I really believe that.
To put it simply, Malik, this is so overpriced. Caleb Williams is plus 120, so he's the easy favorite. I think Jaden Daniels is on the same tier as him. And to put it simply,
tier is what?
Like a Caleb Williams, in the sense that I think Jaden Daniels is plus 700 to win Rookie of the Year, and Caleb Williams is plus 100. So it's a highlight-driven award, and I think Jaden Daniels is going to have a lot of highlights this year. So I think it's really 50-50, but Jaden Daniels, I'm with you.
Yeah. Just Rex, I don't know if Daniels could stay healthy. Washington is a bad team. Yeah, that's fair. I think that he has a lot of talent around him, though. I think he has a lot of talent around him, and I think that he's going to be allowed to be himself, if you will. I believe that.
And Malik, it's not even about the wins. That's another thing. Especially, we're just talking about strictly the award. It doesn't matter how much wins you get. Justin Herbert won, Kyler Murray won. It doesn't matter how much wins you get. It's strictly the stats you put up and how good you look. Honestly, it's highlights. And Caleb Williams is going to put up a lot of stats, but the difference is Caleb doesn't run as much as Jaden. So,
with that being said, we made it through the first episode of the Sit Down with Malik Wright Morning Show. We appreciate y'all for tuning in to another first ever episode of the show. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'll be sitting down with our guy, Benjamin Albright, Broncos insider, NFL insider. Really, really pumped up to be talking Bo Nix with him. Really excited that he'll be joining the show. In the coming weeks, you'll be seeing a lot of guests join the show. stay tuned as well. Got a big announcement coming as well, either today or tomorrow, that you guys should be looking forward to. Some really cool stuff that we've got planned. We appreciate that you guys chose to spend your morning with us. I hope that you choose to spend every morning going forward with us as we talk all things sports, NFL, UFC, NBA, MLB, so much more. We appreciate you guys. Until next time, remember, there's only one way, and that is the right way. Thanks, everyone.